Hi and welcome to episode 518 with whatsforchow.com. With festive season right here, it's good to have a couple of recipes that can feed hordes of family and friends. These super tasty beef empanadas will certainly warm your hearts, and this recipe will make about 35-inch pocket pies. In addition, they can be made ahead and frozen and fried very successfully from frozen. To start, measure out the ground cumin, ground coriander seed, paprika, oregano, chili flakes, garlic powder, dried powdered coriander leaf, dried powdered avocado leaf, and lemon or lime zest. Roughly chop the onions and weigh out the butter. Place the ground beef in a large container and pour in all of the herbs and spices. Get in there with your hands and massage this into the beef thoroughly. Heat a large pan over high heat and add the butter. When the butter starts to bubble, add the chopped onion. Fry this for about 6 minutes until tender and starting to brown slightly on the edges. Break up the ground beef over the onions. Immediately start chopping the beef into the onion with the edge of your spatula. Ground beef tends to clump together when fried, and chopping through the lumps will break this all down. Fry and chop the beef for 6 to 8 minutes until cooked through and well colored. Pour in the beef stock and stir to combine. Turn the heat down to medium and allow this to simmer for 6 minutes. Dissolve the corn flour in a little water and add this to the beef. Stir this in, bring it to a boil, and allow this to continue for a minute or two until thickened. Remove the pan from the heat and allow to cool completely. For the pastry, weigh out the all-purpose flour, baking powder, salt, shortening, and milk. For this quantity of filling, you will need to make 4 batches of pastry, so weigh out all 4 separately before processing. Working with the first batch, place the flour, salt, baking powder, and shortening in your food processor. Put the lid on and pulse this briefly 2 or 3 times to cut the shortening into the flour. Remove the lid and pour in half of the milk. Put the lid on and run the machine on high speed for 5 seconds. While the machine runs, tilt the machine back and forth to aid the mixing. Remove the lid, pour in the remaining milk, replace the lid and switch the machine on high. Tilt the machine back and forth for about 10 seconds until the dough comes together in a crumbly mass. Turn the dough out onto your work surface. Wrap the dough in cling wrap, flattening it out as you go. Transfer this to your refrigerator and continue with the remaining 3 batches of pastry. By this stage, the filling will have cooled. Pour in the grated cheese and mix this in thoroughly. Season with salt and pepper to taste. To assemble the empanadas, a tortilla press is very useful. If you don't have a press, simply roll the pastry with a rolling pin. Divide each batch of pastry into 8 portions, giving you 32 portions in all. Press the portions out or roll using plastic bread film to prevent sticking. Use your rolling pin to finish rolling these into rounds of just larger than 5 inches or 125 millimeters. If you don't have an empanada press, you can form the empanadas quite easily by hand. Drop 60 grams of the filling onto the top half of the pastry. Hold the front of the pastry while you lift the lower edge of the pastry up and over the filling. Crimp the edge to seal. Using an empanada press is much easier. Cut the perfect round from the pastry, using the cutter in the base of the press. Keeping the plastic film in place, drop this on top of the press. Add 60 grams of filling to one side of the pastry and tamp this down. Holding the plastic film and the handles of the press, close the press to seal in the filling. Continue until all the empanadas are formed. Half fill a large pan with oil and heat this to 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. Fry the empanadas in batches for 2 to 3 minutes per side until crisp, puffed and golden. Remove these from the oil and continue with the remaining pies. And there we have it, beautifully golden Mexican beef empanadas to feed the crowd. Thanks for joining us today. Please subscribe to our channel and we'll see you again tomorrow.